You know what, guys? I can listen to this song, bro, all day long, man. We want to welcome you to the Unrestrained podcast. My name is Alfred. I am here not only with an all-star team, man. First of all, somebody told me, hey, bro, put yourself in the camera, man. And I'm like, yeah, I'll work on it. As I tell the guys, man, I am very shy. I don't like to be in cameras for some reason. They fail. But anyhow, no, I'm just joking. Anyway, I want to give a welcome to everybody that just joined us for the first time to the Unrestrained podcast. I am so excited. We're going to have a great conversation today, man. And before we get started, man, I want to introduce two of the top-notch personalities, man. One lives in LA, right? And the other one is part of an Orange County organization. And we're gonna do a quick introduction. I want to welcome to the show for a second time, bro. This is his second show, bro. He said, last time I talked to this person, he said, I loved it. I enjoyed it. I like having conversations. And you know what? That's what it's all about. It's about having discussions. It's about having, we could be wrong, right? But the point of having discussions is like, hey, we can understand other people's point of view. And that's what matters here in America. We need to be able to do that. We need to have these discussions. So want to welcome to the show, Sammy. Sammy, welcome to the show, buddy.
Hey, what's up? Like you said, it's my second time. I had a lot of fun last week. So here to do it again, to repeat, see what's going on.
Welcome, man. Welcome, Sammy. Hey, on the other spectrum, man. And this guy, you guys have heard of him. He's a powerhouse. Not only because he's involved with so many gazillion organizations. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking, man. Julian, welcome back, homie. Thank you for coming, Brad. Thank you so much for joining the Unrestrained podcast, brother. How you doing?
Of course, doing great. Thank you. Good to be back. It's always a pleasure. And yes, we're just putting in the work for this great state of ours.
That's awesome, man. Hey, so we're going to have a good discussion, guys, because as you know, I want to give a huge shout out to Ernest, to Eli, to Isaac, and to the mastermind, Alex Alfaro, bro. They're taking their time off. Today is their week off. And so we said, hey, we're going to bring some other powerhouse folks into this conversation, and we're going to have a good discussion. You guys, something that's been changing, and I think over the next, you guys know that we're in election year, right? This is the time where we're so focused, and not only in our communities, in our districts, in our states, in our country. There's a lot of things that are happening. And listen, I was just talking to Julian about all these things that are happening, man. Sometimes I need to unplug myself, right? I just need to shut some stuff up and not just say, nah, I'm done with this. Okay, Trump is going to get his 7th case and his gazillion case, and he's going to be another 1,000 years locked up, bro. Sometimes it's just too much. And at the end of the day, man, what is important? What is important to you? So today we're going to have a discussion is what is important to the Latino community in regards to what's going on right now and things that are affecting us right now. For example, how is inflation affecting certain communities? How is inflation affecting you as a business owner? You as a person that pays taxes? How is that affecting you? Now, how is it unemployment affecting you? A lot of people, I heard some people that are still unemployed, bro. They've been unemployed for a couple years. What's going on here? Why is this happening in our communities? So, and then we're going to jump into some other things that are happening, like, for example, the immigration stuff that's hitting hard. When I want to throw this out there, you guys, when people say, how does immigration affects us? I want to see, how does it affect us? I want to hear your feedback on how do you guys think immigration affects us as individuals? Some people think that, that you're an immigration hater. No, bro, it affects us because guess what? Some of our people, some of our immigrants do require some necessities, right? They do require home. They do require some of them are suffering with health issues, right? And they do require some services. So how does that affect the regular population in our cities, our countries, our states? How does that affect? So let's jump into topic number one. One of the things that I was mentioning here with the team is Latinos, we can't forget the good years with Trump, with Donald Trump, Now we can look at the history and we can turn back, we can look at a history book, right? And we can look at the internet and really just look at things that were good for us, right? For example, when Donald Trump left his office, right, inflation was at 1.4%. You know what I mean? Nowadays, we're struggling, up to 8.3 inflation in 2022, right? And now we're suffering at a 3.4 inflation right now in this current state. So now it's kind of double. So what do you guys think about, what is happening with this? So the reason why I'm saying this is because despite, some of the efforts from both parties, I think we need to concise and really focus on how the messaging is being presented to the general population. So I'm gonna go with Sammy. What do you guys think about the current state of inflations? And I share with you guys some of the stats. Post Trump and now. What do you think? Do you think inflation is something that we already know, right? It's another second, third tax. So what is your thought on inflations?
Well, first off, let me start by saying I am a business owner, so I am highly affected by inflation because my cost of goods are higher, my labor is higher. I've got to give raises because my workers can't keep up with, being able to buy their the simple things like milk, eggs, whatever.
Right.
So, obviously they ask for raises, and, as you care about these people. So obviously you don't want them to suffer. So you give them what you can. Right. But at the same time, like that goes into my bottom line, right? Like I make less. And right now, so the huge issue that I got to deal with as far as like inflation is where my price points should be. So I raised my prices, right, because I have to give out, raises and whatnot, and I'm paying double on cost of goods. So I raised my prices and I immediately saw a drop in customers.
Wow.
And it's like, you can't raise prices too much because you lose customers, but you got to raise prices or you lose money, right? And that was like the biggest thing that I'm dealing with. And it's worse than the pandemic. During the pandemic, we had inflationary cycles, but everything kind of came down and kind of chilled out. But with right now, like things are just going up and up and up, and I don't see like an end in sight. And that in turn, like I have to raise my prices. I know a lot of I've actually lost some employees because they were like, yo, it costs way too much to be out here. And I had one girl, she was a really good worker too, man. And she moved to, I don't know where she moved to. I had to leave. She went somewhere, I don't know where she went, but she was tired. Like she was like, this place is violent. This place is, and she lives, my business is in South Central Los Angeles. So I see the violence. I see the, I've had, people like get stabbed, in front of my business. People be assaulted. The bank that's next to me has been robbed 4 times. One person actually literally walked away with $25,000 in a backpack and just walked away. Like it was a she robbed the place. And the funny thing, she came back 2 weeks later to rob the place again, and then she got arrested. And it's like so that's what I'm visually seeing this stuff. Like I'm an actual witness to the crime. So my worker was like, dude, I can't be here no more. So she left. My other worker went to Richmond, Virginia, and she was like, I'd rather be there where there's work than here where there's no work. And and it's a trip, dude. So I think one of the issues that people are dealing with is they can't afford their food, their consumer staples, and their jobs are being replaced by robots. So.
This is the reason why I laugh about this is because, we've been seeing. I've been seeing this all the time, man. I'm seeing now that Lowe's, Home Depot, and all these things, they have self checkout now.
Oh yeah.
And now you're seeing massively. So now you're starting to see. I think now it's cheaper for them, to get one of these self-serve machines and subsidize it for actual people, bro. But is that really beneficial? What is your thought on that? Will that really does that really benefit the customer care experience? Talking to a machine. Personally, I hate it. I don't use them.
Right. Well, I think I heard that they have like a what do they call the department? They have they're recording people and they're like checking on people from a different country where it's cheaper.
What?
What do they call that?
Is
like,
it?
There's a certain
virtual
word. Oh, loss prevention.
Oh, okay.
Loss
Oh,
prevention.
gotcha.
They have a
Okay.
loss prevention department that's in a different country where it costs
Huh.
less to maintain.
Golly.
And and the thing is, when you check out, you see there's a camera on you, and there's
Right.
you know, and they're using AI to see if you're gonna be like someone who's gonna steal or not. And I think it's forcing, you know, big employers to utilize technology to, you know, manage their losses, and at the same time they're switching from like an actual person to a machine because it costs a lot less. And you know, the machine's not going to sue you, the machine's not going to sexually harass somebody, the machine's not going to, there's just so many, you know, there's so much benefit in the long run to having a machine work instead of, you know, like an actual person.
That's great. Hey, as a business owner, bro, you did mention that your goods have gone up, right?
Yeah.
I mean, right now, recently, Gavin Newsom just went ahead and activated a $20 an hour an hour rate, right?
Yeah, but except for his friends.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
And that's so typical, right? I mean, think about it. Past pandemic, you know, the French Laundry, but that's another story.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I mean, you as a business owner, I mean, you say you had to make some adjustments. I mean, how far? I mean, I don't want to get much in debt in your, in your private businesses and finances, but has it really hit you like 33, 43%?
Oh yeah, dude.
Oh man. Oh my.
And the thing is, like I said, I can't. Like I want to. Okay, so like I'm paying double for everything.
Right.
But I can't charge double for everything.
Oh.
Sorry, if I were to charge double, I'd lose customers. You know, and I've got a customer base that's very working class. They're you know, they're blue collar workers. They're gonna go paint. They're gonna go, you know, build stuff. They're gonna go use their hands or whatever. They come. They're hungry.
Right.
You know, and you know, I do like if you charge them more for something, they get upset.
I bet.
And I don't want to charge people more. Like I for a long time I ate the cost. You know, during the pandemic I kept my prices the same and I ate the cost. And you know, there's only so much of that you can do, right?
God,
and you know, it's right now I'm still kind of figuring out where to adjust everything because I got my bills too, and during the pandemic I at least was able to take care of my bills, right? But you know, so right now it's just a game of okay, I gotta be able to inch it a little bit, kind of to see if like I don't lose anybody, and it's a scary process because nobody wants to lose customers, and I certainly am not in a position to lose customers.
Wow.
So it's a tough game, man, and the thing that California doesn't understand is that, you know, they think they're going after these big businesses, but the ones that are most affected are the regular mom and pop shops like my shop, and you know everybody vilifies McDonald's, but McDonald's is a, you know, real estate company. The people that own the McDonald's, they're like franchisees. They might have one. They might have to, yeah, they might make some money or whatever, but they're not the billionaire company that, or the $1 billion company that they think they are. You know, people talk about McDonald's on the news and they don't understand that these are all franchisees. These are all regular people that own, you know, these businesses, and the people that actually have to front, you know, who have to bear the burden of higher wages are small shops, small mom and pop people. These big companies, none of them fought it. McDonald's, they didn't fight the wage increases. None of these big companies, they didn't care, because you know why? Because they can afford it. You know, they like regular you know, businesses like mine, you know, we're the ones that are hurting. We're saying, hey, you know what? We can't afford this. I don't want to raise my prices, but I have to now. I don't want to alienate my customers, but I have to, you know?
Wow.
So, our politicians really don't understand that, or if they do understand it, they're absolutely evil for going through with it.
Right. And Julian, so what do you think, bro? I know I mentioned to you guys earlier when we started having this discussion about the inflation, and in your opinion, do you think that inflation is considered another tax?
Yes. Well, here, I guess to clarify, so tax is punishment. So yes, this is essentially a sanction against frankly everybody. But I think Sammy provides really great insight as a property owner. He's directly affected by it and can see the effects of inflation. But I guess inflation, what is inflation? So essentially, in simple terms, is when you can buy. I'll use an extreme example. If today $100 buys you one car, tomorrow is going to cost $120 for that same car, essentially. So the number of money that you have to spend on items increases, while the size or the quality of the product that you're getting is decreasing. So just in short terms, that's what inflation kind of is. So yes, it is a punishment. It is a tax on everybody. So because if you have savings in your bank account, if you have $1,000 just sitting there, it's not accruing any interest, then by the end of the month, at inflation rates really high, it'll be worth less at the end of the day. So yes, in my opinion, it is a tax, and a tax that the people in the middle class and lower class the spectrum, if you will, can't afford. Because I think Sammy was actually pointing to that. We looked at that very clearly in 2020 when all the lockdowns happened. The only companies that were able to survive successfully were the major corporations like Walmart, the big tech companies, HP, Apple, that just skyrocketed sales for everything virtual, while the local businesses, the mom and pop shops, were unable to survive. Many people took out loans to try and start a business, but unfortunately were drowned by the unprecedented actions of the government, which and now we know it was rather exaggerated. But yes, so in terms, in a short answer, it is a tax, a vicious tax.
So what makes you think, what could have caused this? I mean, because I know we talked about this. I know the stimulus could have caused this, but we have people that are up there that should be competent enough to see, like, hey, guys, we're throwing too much at the we're just printing too much money, expecting to to receive a return on investment, which is not happening, right? I mean, for example, the stimulus package or the stimulus checks that everybody received, and then all this, even that here, the governor of California gave out $300 or $400 or $500 checks to people that really didn't need it. Like, for example, I myself received a check and I'm like, dude, I don't want, I wanted to, too late. I didn't choose for this, right? I literally did not, where do I turn this back? I mean, it's my own money. You know what I mean? So where do you think this happened? How did this happen?
You mind if I tackle this?
Sure.
So I love talking about this because people don't really understand, like, the concept of money supply. So everybody's seen that movie Aladdin, right? So remember, there's a scene where, like, Aladdin's tossing money out into the
oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
He's tossing money out into the community, right?
Yep.
He's giving out gold coins. And me, the nerd that I am, I was like, dude, he's gonna cause an inflationary cycle.
Yeah.
Because everybody has money. Number one, if you're a seller, if you're selling like baskets for whatever, I know you got a gold coin, I can charge you more for this basket because you could pay for this basket. So when you increase the money supply, the cost of goods go up. Okay. And the same thing. And in order to get a hold on inflation, you've got to decrease the money supply. That's why our government uses a federal open market, whatever. They buy and sell securities like bonds,
right?
And treasury bills and all that. And that's how they're able to pull money out of the system and put money back into the system. So when we're in a recession or whatever.
But they're not calling it that, right? They're not. I mean, think about it. Somebody mentioned the word recession, and he practically got yelled at in that conference. It was like, dude, we're not.
You can't say anything bad about the Biden economy. Absolutely not. It's taboo in this administration. But essentially, what happens when you put too much money into a system, it tends to overheat the economy. So, yes, the stimulus did cause inflation, but more than anything is the printing of money that we or Biden did. He printed more money than has ever existed, ever, and all that has to go somewhere, and it goes into the system, overheats the economy. So we had prices shoot up. At one point we were experiencing 8-9% inflation. In that, those figures do not include housing. In the 70s, when we used to talk about inflation, it used to include housing, and it would, it was a lot higher. If we were to include housing into the inflationary figures, it would be worse than what it was in the 70s. So what we're experiencing right now is kind of unprecedented. In the 70s, people were like, there was this incredible recession. There was people just losing jobs. There was unemployment. It was pretty messed up. That's how we got such a conservative president, in the 80s, because the 70s were so bad. People don't understand how bad Carter was.
Right.
And Biden is worse than that. And the thing is, because he has the media on his side, and
correct,
nobody really acknowledges the fact that this dude is worse than Carter. He's correct. Bad. He's really, really bad. And if you ask people, oh, who's the worst president? They all say Trump. And if you would have asked in 2015 who's the worst president, they all would have said Bush. And I'm not a fan of Bush, but when you actually look at the numbers, dude, he wasn't as bad as Carter. And it really pains me that the average person doesn't understand that how much they're shielded, how much this administration is shielded, and you got to sit there and explain to them sometimes. But anyways, yes, we printed more money than has ever existed, so that's going to cause inflation. And then we started we had interest rates really low for a long time, and we made credit really easily available. So basically, all of that overheated the economy. And
wow.
Then, yeah.
What are your thoughts, Julian?
No, well, they're pretty much the same, and I have to agree. It really is. I guess the best way I try to explain it to individuals is if you have a bar of gold and you print two $1 bills.
Right.
Well, $1 bill is worth half of that bar of gold. But if the government have just one bar of gold and you print 100 of those $1 bills, all of a sudden that $1 bill is no longer worth half of the gold bar, but rather just 1/100th of that gold bar. So it really disenfranchises the worker and the whoever has dollars, essentially. Right. And yeah, that's a perfect example, I think. And then Sammy mentioned Carter, and absolutely, I throughout U.S. history, if inflation rate hit more than 3%, it was reasons for outrage and panic almost. But here we are. Biden did hit the 8% at some point in 2022. Mm-hmm. But yes, as we were mentioning, it wasn't of concern. Everything is fine. Don't look here. The economy is growing. Record employment numbers and all of this. It's all painted with rainbows and sunshine, but clearly it is not. The numbers don't support that.
My favorite line was when they said it's transitory.
Oh boy. Oh yeah, it was the previous guy's fault.
Yeah, exactly. Right. He said one of the things he said about inflation, and quote, he said, I already had inflation when I took on this administration. When I came into this administration, I was at 9%, he said. And that's what he said. And he got fact checked by CNN, and they actually came back and said, no, when you took on the actual economy, when you took on office, you were at 1.4%. So
correct.
We are seeing this from a lot from this administration. Unfortunately, it's something that we're seeing constantly, right? I mean, it's just mind-boggling. I mean, for certain people that are just continuing to. I mean, first of all, I got to give it a hands up for Sammy, bro. He's managing his business.
Yes,
and
congratulations.
He's, congratulations,
Yeah, that's
Sammy.
awesome.
Look at you. You're like, okay, where do I do this? And think about it. You're not a corporation. You're just a private entity. You're making it happen, and you're giving other people a place. You're paying, supporting other families, man. So
Correct.
Thank you so much, man, for the support, and thank you for hanging in there. Don't worry. We're hoping that this is transitory. Because
the one thing that I can absolutely hands down tell you is that God has blessed my business.
Oh,
He's kept those doors open, and it's been a lot of prayer, a lot of tears, a lot of people don't understand what happens in the background in the business.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't even understand it, until I actually got involved in a real business. And this is probably one of the most painful things I've ever experienced emotionally, spiritually, but it's also very rewarding at the same time.
Wow, man. Hey, well, listen, you're doing good, brother. You're hanging in there. Everything that you say, man. Hey, I'm so thankful, bro, that you're bringing this up, because it is crucial, right? We're not in this system, right? As people as faith, and I think Julian and myself and we're people of faith, right? We report to a higher power, as we say, right?
Oh, yeah.
And we know it's Jesus.
I wanted the caveat. I don't consider myself religious.
Of course not.
But I do love God. I try to maintain a relationship with Him. That's one thing I cannot deny, is that my life has been touched by His hand and been blessed. And I'd be nowhere without Him. So I can't sit here and lie and say, oh, God has no role in my. No, He's in every single aspect. And as of right now, the only reason my doors are open is because I've gotten on my knees and prayed.
So. That's awesome, man. That is great, man. Hey, so that is the key right here. So think about it. If you're struggling, if you're suffering, if you have, an opportunity, it's so true, man. What you said is key. It's not about being religious, man. It's about trusting God and making sure that, hey, you know where it's coming from. At least myself, I do this a lot. I pray, I ask the Lord the same thing you do. And, and I am perfect, right? We're not, nobody's perfect. But in a sense, Julian, what else can we expect, brother? You work in there. You're kind of the boots in the ground, right? What else can we expect from this administration? Think about it. Right now, we're currently continuing to suffer with the inflation, right? We're continuing suffering with the constant 2 wars, not 1, 2 wars, right? So now we got the Ukraine war, the Israel war. Now there's conversations about Taiwan, even beforehand. Come on now, we got $95 billion already, and then we were already setting aside for Taiwan. What else can we expect from this administration? And by the way, man, have you noticed that this administration, they're not doing campaigning as much? Why do you think is that? Why do you think that's not happening?
Well, interesting question. I haven't really observed how active they're campaigning for Biden. So I definitely keep an eye out on that. I know the other team, the Trump team, has been bombarding people everywhere and everything, commercials, TV, and all kind of stuff. Right. So that's pretty good because he's doing it alongside with other Republicans. In terms of what we can expect for this very long 4-term year of President Biden, in the next, I think he only has 6 months at this point left. Yes. Anyways, on the second note that you mentioned, I don't think people are aware how close we are to a third world war, like physical bombs going, invasions going on. As you mentioned already, 2 bubbles that bursted. The first one was the issue with Ukraine and Russia, which many people were shocked to have seen this, but this had been an issue going on for at least 8 years, and we had 8 years to prepare, 8 years to do something about it, and manage it differently. But boop, here we go. But if you ask the average voter, unfortunately, completely unaware of how we got here in the first place. Anyways, we're setting that aside. Then a little while later, the other bubble that popped was obviously the Middle East, October 7th, 2023. It ignited a very deadly conflict that's we hadn't seen in many, many years. But I guess on top of that, you have to also add that it's continuing to heat up at this time. It is not cooling down. You have the Yemeni rebellion that started shooting at international boats and international waters with no respect to order or the lives of the fishermen. Excuse me, not the seamen. Excuse me, not fishermen. Well, seamen too. But in addition to that, you had Iran that attacked Pakistan. Pakistan, I think, cooler heads prevailed and didn't reply. Shortly thereafter, Iran attacked Iraq, and same thing. That one hasn't cooled down as much. And then you absolutely do have that other boiling point for Xi Jinping in China, Taiwan. He wants Taiwan. He considers Taiwan part of mainland China. And but of course, we recognize Taiwan as an independent country. So that's the next bubble that may pop. And then the other things that I'll mention is also the strings being attached to Latin America. China is advancing in influence, and especially right now with the left-wing governments of Colombia, of Brazil, and even of Mexico. There have Chinese influence, communist influence has opened doors in Latin America at this time. And Honduras is very welcoming of Russian forces. I mention all of these points because it is absolutely critical that we have good leadership, and Biden has been the exact opposite. He has been weak. People know that, world leaders see that, and have acted accordingly. We have not had a position of strength, and I think in terms of international policy or foreign policy, Ronald Reagan summarizes it best is peace through strength. You cannot pray and hope that the other team is going to play by the rules, and I guess a manifestation of that was, and I think this was why Israel kind of got cut off guard. There's this new generation of people that have grown on social media and are completely unaware of the threats and the dangers that exist in the real world, if you will. And so they never would have thought that, especially the people that are my age or younger, would have never thought that something like October 7th would have happened in the grounds of Israel. And so same thing here in the United States. I think people, especially the younger electorate, don't believe that a third world war could happen. They see that as something of World War II and Nazi Germany. It's stuck in the past. It's no longer present. But the truth is, if you have weak leaders like Biden, you will absolutely motivate the enemies of our country to start to mobilize and move. So I guess the final point that I'll mention on this note is Israel's borders were sealed tight, and look at what happened on October 7th. Ours has been open for many years. You don't know who has come in. And if I hated the United States as much as some of these organizations and people do, I would be a fool not to take an advantage of coming into the border through just walking in with my team and plan something later down the line. So in terms of what we can expect the last 4 months, probably just, I never want to be bad news and focus on the bad, but it's the reality. We just have trouble coming down the pipeline.
So the reason why I asked this is because it jumps to the next point, man. I mean, think about it. Right now, we currently have the DOJ, the FBI giving out alerts saying that, watch out, there's potential attacks coming soon. But again, there's no, I mean, are we really, I mean, come on now, over what we've seen over the last 3 years, is this something credible? I mean, come on, I mean, personally, do you guys currently, I mean, if I ask you individually, do you guys actually believe these threats? I mean, because it's been crying wolf for the last, for the last 3 years, right? Things are happening, but open borders, right? It's kind of like, hey, a potential attack could happen in America, right? But yet again, we have open borders. I don't know if you guys remember, just roughly about 3 years ago, there was some missing cargo, right, in a railroad trade, some chemicals that were stolen. It was a lot of poundage, really badly. I was trying to look for the actual report, and I couldn't find it because, again, it just came in and then it was gone. it was a massive amount of it was some sort of powder. You know, it's kind of like TNT or chemical. You know, it causes almost like it's a chemical reactant, but it's missing. They can't find it. So, how secure are we now? I mean, right now, realistically, given the fact that we know what's going on at the border, things that are going on. Like, do you guys feel safe in America currently?
I'll let Sammy. We'll ask the normal person in the room. Sammy, what do you think?
Do I feel safe? Look, if we didn't have, let's say the border was 100% secure, I still don't feel safe. We've got very incompetent leadership, top to bottom, like in our cities, in our townships, in our state. I love this state. I love my city, LA. But I have no confidence in our leadership, and they, in their efforts to get more power, they are selling out the people that are actually here. Now, the border, it being, there's the issue that I always explain to people when we talk about the borders is, no matter what city you're in or what state you're in, we've got a fixed infrastructure. And if you start adding people to the system, that is going to affect the resources that we have, the highways, streets, stores, businesses, like what we have access to. So one of the things that I noticed is that, in the last few years, we've got, this exploding homeless population. What people don't understand is a lot of those people are, recién venidos, is what they call it,
true.
right?
Yeah.
My mom was involved heavily in this church, and they had a huge community of people that were living under a freeway, and the church would go and bring them food, and it's they're doing the humanitarian thing, right? And I was like, look, I feel for these people, and whatever they're going through in their countries, it's a messed up situation or whatever, but how is it better to come here and live under a freeway?
Correct.
How is it, how do you, I don't know, man. So we've got limited resources. We're increasing the people that are in the system. It's going to break. Systems shatter. Like if you put enough stress on a system, they shatter. So we've got that issue. We've also we've got like Bukele, for example, he's going hard on the crime in his country. The people that don't want to get locked up, they come here. They don't want to go to jail in El Salvador, so it's easier just to come here. You come hang out in LA, and those are the people that are hanging out amongst us. And people don't realize that this is like, this can potentially turn into a really big issue down the road. I'm not as a hardline immigration person, whatever, but I do recognize that there is we have finite resources. Putting a strain on that system is going to hurt. We can't have people come over here and live in squalor. We can't, it's not humanitarian for them to go through that whole, walking through the desert, walking through Death Valley, walking through, how is that humane? Right? How do you put yourself through that? Dude, there are kids that are being left at the border, right? Have you guys seen the videos that they drop the little kids over the fence and all? How is that humane? I've seen videos of little kids wandering around the desert by themselves. There's one that broke my heart. The little kid's crying. He's like, the group left me. Right. And it's like, how is that humane? How is it humane to have a child go through that? And I know that these countries are going through, whatever they're going through, but it's, we're as much as it breaks my heart, we're not Captain Save a Country, and we can't fix every country, we can't save every country, especially when our country itself is not doing too well. So
that's good.
Correct.
That's good.
In terms of the question of are we safe, or if I feel safe, I mean, in general terms, I think just because maybe I live in a really blessed area here in Orange County, for the most part I do. However, I don't. Just because, again, of what's going on at the southern border. As I mentioned earlier, we don't know who has come in. what plans they have, what's going to happen. And I think there's a story I never forget. I was speaking with an immigration lawyer from San Diego. I'm blanking out on her name, but she essentially explained to us that a girl from Guatemala applied for asylum here because she was 14 years old and she was raped by a neighbor. And her life was in jeopardy because she, pressed charges, went to the authorities, seeking justice, essentially. So she got her asylum approved. She came to San Diego, only to find out that 2 years later, approximately, that the guy that raped her was living 2 blocks just from where she was at. And the local authorities were unable to do anything because San Diego is essentially sanctuary. So it's devastating, actually, and not safe, far from it. But in general terms, I guess I personally also have seen how many businesses are being. I think just Sunday, we went to go get tortas at some Cancun juice here. And just because I had heard this from other cashiers at other restaurants, I asked them, hey, do you guys also get your guys' tip jar stolen here? And she's like, yeah, it literally happens like at least once a month. Like some homeless or some person will come in and just take the jar and run. So people are just getting robbed left and right. And I don't even think people are reporting it anymore, because nobody does anything. I mean, I think here in California, you can rob up to like $900 per instance and not be punished severely. So people don't even call the police. And I was looking right now, actually, before the podcast, the Department of Justice report of state of California for crimes. And some of the numbers seem to be going down, some of them. But I think in parts it's because people are just not reporting crimes anymore. And then the other thing is that liberals, Biden and his administration, and what they're doing is redefining crimes. So, for example, I think in a really conservative area, stealing $900 just one instance is enough to charge you with possibly even a felony and lock you up for a good time. Whereas here in California, is not even considered a misdemeanor. So that's why it's very hard to say that crime rates are going down here in California, even though the ruling party claims that it is.
Wow. And it's true. What you're saying is true, because I was actually looking at a report, and somebody said that somebody on X mentioned that they were actually giving the order to not report anymore. Through not only through the FBI report, because for the most part, everybody, what happens? They go and look at the FBI report. And now you're starting to see a drop. Well, of course, they stop reporting it. There's certain things that they're not reporting anymore. And so even though it's happening,
Correct.
They're no longer going to report it. So therefore, correct. I mean, how, these numbers really don't help, don't help us at all. And that's the way they're seeing, like, it's dropping. Yeah, but you've already given instructions to not report.
Right.
So,
yeah. And I guess
even if it's dropped, because I know a lot of liberals love to be like, oh, it's dropped, crime is dropped. But they don't understand that there was a huge swell.
Correct.
From the time of the pandemic.
That's the other thing.
If let's say the rate was 100, incidents per 1,000 or whatever, it's now 130. And then if it drops, if crime drops 10%, that's 3 incidences. You're talking about 133 incidents per 1,000. That 30 is a huge jump, like especially in the last 4 years, and people don't understand that. We're experiencing that, even though we're seeing less crime, but we've already had 3 years of incredible high rates of crime.
Correct. Yeah, so that's another important note. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I got a question for you guys. I know as now we have somebody that's regular citizen, right? And then plus we have Julian that kind of looks at some of the numbers in the back. And then myself, I'm always doing reading, and I'm trying to stay away. The wifey just said, she already gave me an ultimatum. She said, stop with the politics. And I said, all right, babe, I'll think about it. But until we can get through this, the next 4 years, I'm going to continue to drill, continue to work. We, like Julian mentioned earlier, we need to continue to educate people. I got a question for you both. How is it? I mean, I know right now, currently, I'd mentioned to you both starting the podcast about messaging. I know messaging is important, and the reason why it's important is because some of our people, they're feeling like they're not getting. I personally took it upon myself, and I went and visit the Donald Trump page. Right, you guys can look at it, and he lays out foundational things that he's gonna do once he takes on office. Right, and some of these things is he's gonna tackle down inflation. He's gonna tackle down crime. He's gonna tackle down, and he provides a plan and structure. I'm seeing this from the other side, and there's no clear messaging from the other side on how they're going to tackle this when everything that they've done over the last 3 years have been a complete failure. So what do you guys what is your thought on the messaging? Are you guys seeing this from both political parties? I mean, is the messaging on point as far as not only from the Republicans? Believe me, I looked at the Democrat as well, and I don't have anything a clear line of guidance for the Latino voters. Have you guys noticed anything like that?
Oh, well, again, I think perhaps me just because I'm I'm almost on a daily involved in like Republican politics, so I get to see like a lot of the ads of the local candidates here in Orange County. But the message is to the electorate in general is essentially one of our strengths, the economy, that we can get this back in control. We can get this the wheels in the economy spinning at a healthy rate again. So I think that's the message that's kind of being portrayed from Republicans. And I think I would just add that Biden is essentially doing all the talking for us. We don't really need to be campaigning too hard right now. Excuse me, I'll take that back. We don't have to take such an aggressive tone because people can see for themselves with their salaries, with what their money can buy, with or the quality of life that is being lived nowadays when they go to the grocery store, when they go to the gas station. And all of that speaks volumes by itself. And I think, in terms of non-economic things, again, I'm just going to go back to the war thing. I just really hope that they see how stabilized the international economic stage was, and with war conflicts and all that kind of stuff versus these last 4 years where we now have bubbles just bursting left and right. People are still starving in Yemen, which have been for some time, but the situations are even dire now than they were before.
Awesome. How about you, Sam?
So I think the Democrats don't have a message. I think that they have an agenda, but their message is I don't think they have a message. Unfortunately, the conservatives, we don't have any institutional power. The Democrats smartly took over the institutions, colleges, the media, and one of the reasons why Biden doesn't campaign is because they do it for them. The institutions are taking care of him. They go out there and massage him and make him look amazing, and and Republicans don't have that. And that's one of the things that bothers me about the Republican side is that we're not as if you look at the Democrats, for example, when they vote, all of them, they're in line. They know what's up. They're organized. On the Republican side, though, you've got, your hard conservatives. You have your
moderate.
You have your Romneys. They're big. The establishment conservatives, and it's pretty fractured. And we're not a unified party. We're not like the Democrats. So obviously, the message that the Republicans are it's just not getting through to anybody. And the one thing that I want to talk about, when you talk to a Latino and you ask them who do you think the Republicans are? Who do you think the Democrats are? They always think that the Democrats are the good guys. They always say, oh, ellos son los buenos. Tenemos que votar. Cuando yo voy a votar por los buenos y son los demócratas. And it's they don't understand how evil that party is and all the things they've done in the history. They've been on the wrong side of history all the time. And they've been really successful at institutionalizing the message well, not the message, but their agenda that they're the good guys. They're the ones that are going to come here and save us. Look, we're going to give you everything you want. Just vote for us. And I think that's one of the things that kind of hurts us. You know, like the conservative movement is we don't promise anything. That's why we can't buy any votes because we're not promising anything. And, you know, I like that because that means we're actually like, you know, we got integrity. We're out there actually trying to tell you the truth. Right. And sometimes we're going to look like assholes. We're, you know, telling you the truth. But the average person is just not receptive to that. So
good. So what you mentioned, you mentioned this, and I think I love what you said. You said the messaging. Now, in a sense, Julian made a good point. He said that, you know, Biden is doing the speaking for us in general, right? Because at the end of the day, look at how disastrous this whole thing is played out, right? And for some of us, it's great. I mean, I'm speaking for myself. I like what's going on because at the end of it's kind of when you say that sweet justice, right? You're like, all right, you wanted power, all right, you wanted the power, you wanted to control something. Here you go. Now fix it. Let's see what's going on, right?
But yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt, but the thing is that like this is my issue is that we're kind of relying on Biden being so bad that we're just gonna ride that wave. I think we need to have something more powerful for our people. Like they're
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I like that he's a buffoon. You know, because he there's nothing red pills people more than his buffoonery, but that just can't be enough, man. There's just not enough people awakening to, you know, the harsh realities of like what's really going on. If I could wake people up, that would be like an amazing thing, right? If I could just shake people and like tell them, look, dude, there's very sinister things happening behind the scenes, and it's all here to control you. Like it's all designed for you to give them power, them to control you, and you know, they get richer and your life gets worse. So
right. You know what? I like what you said. Earlier in our conversation, I think before you came in, Sammy, me and Julian were discussing about, like actually, activating or having or doing our instead of depending on other people, right? For example, he mentioned something that's really key. Right now, you said, I wish you can shake, you wish you can shake somebody. Why don't you? You know, like the reason why I said is because I've gone to the point where I'm shaking people. You know, I'm telling them, I'm saying, hey, remember earlier we mentioned and saying, and I know, believe me, it gets draining sometimes when you're having discussions with people and you're telling them the same thing. They're not getting it. That was me. You know, that was me right there about 5 years ago when somebody was telling me like, bro, you gotta wake up, you know, like, you know, voting for Obama or Hillary, bro. I mean, come on, you know, this is what's gonna happen. This boom, and look where we are right now. So did it take for me to see? Yes. So we're kind of driving on this wave, and I completely get it. What you said right now is key. We can't just heavily rely on that. So for that matter, Julian, do you think, I mean, right now, you mentioned some, Sammy mentioned some really good things. Do you think some adjustments could be made now on certain things that we're doing different? I mean, granted, we took care of the problem of McDaniel or
Romney.
Yeah, right. We took care of that issue, right? I mean, it's sad that it took Vivek Ramaswamy to call her out, right? But in a sense, do you think now we have Laura Trump? Now she's coming in, making some huge investments on outreach. You know, she's collecting a lot of money, right? That we actually need. But do you think other things we can do here internally? I mean, now that you and we work internally, can we do something different?
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's the most crucial part of the movement, or any movement, is essentially to activate what is called as the grassroots, which is us, the individuals. I'm just going to repeat a few of the things that we were discussing before the podcast, and it's essentially, I was explaining to Alfred that if you're a conservative, showing up to the polls and voting is the absolute bare minimum that you can do for the movement. The Constitution and the ideas that is represented literally lies on the shoulders of everybody who believes in it to advocate for it on a daily, in your daily lives. And if you see, I guess the best way I can explain it is that whatever's going on at the federal level is a mirror of what your local communities are looking like. So it falls upon us as individuals to make sure that we're advocating for these good principles and values of the conservative movement, and that we're articulate, that we're wise about it, intelligent, because those are two different things, intelligence and wisdom, and we have to do both in order to spread the message. So what can one do? Like I mentioned, voting is the bare minimum, and by that I mean to show up at every election. Recall elections, when there's a recall going on, it is our duty to sign those glorious recall papers. When there's a primary, when there's a general election, it is our duty to show up. And if you don't want to show up, at least mail it in. Here in California, it's like literally there's a gazillion different ways you can show up to vote, and we got to make sure that we do that. The second thing is, if you can't actively be there that with your time, be there with your finances. If you're going to donate $10 per election cycle, consider maybe increasing that to $20 or $50 per election cycle, or $10 per candidate that you come across that you will also vote. I don't know how crucial or how important or how I can explain the value of every single dollar that goes to a political campaign. It is crucial. It is vital. And so we also have to support our candidates in that form as well. And it is our jobs as citizens of the United States under the Constitution to actively supervise our government. Unfortunately, that is a very boring and taxing task, but you have to have some idea of what's going on at your city council. You have to have some idea of what's going on at your water board, at your school board. We often get all hyped up and concerned about what's going on at the federal level and the international, and we want to go up in arms and stuff, but we completely miss the most critical part of the system, which is here our local communities. And it's absolutely crucial that we take those positions as well, and that we're actively supervising those, because no policy affects you more than your local city council or local jurisdictions. It is immediate. You don't have to wait for it to, what they would say, trickle down. It's literally there at your door. And sadly, many conservatives don't even know who their mayor is, don't know who their city council folks are, or don't bother to express their concern or frustrations. And I will mention this, we're really active on social media, on YouTube, on commenting and expressing our emotions on there, but are the last ones to show up to board meetings, school board meetings, petition signing, all that kind of stuff. And I guess I'll just stop it there. Otherwise, I'll talk all night.
Well, that's good. That's good, because listen, there's a lot of people that are coming into this movement, or they're actually understanding that, hey, wait a minute, I'm in the wrong side. You know, like for many years, I mean, I'll raise my hand. I was that one person that was like, you know, mom said, hey, vota por los demócratas porque ellos el partido del pueblo, right? Vote for the Democrats because they're the party of the people, right? For many years. And until I started seeing and I started reading, and like Julian mentioned, I started looking at you know, some of the guidelines or things that they were offering, and they're like, we're for abortion. Wait a minute. Wait, I'm not for that. Right? As a person, as a Catholic or Christian or Protestant, whatever, you know, I'm not for that. I'm not for the murder of babies. I mean, and as much as people would say, well, it's everybody's opinion. Of course, the culture's there. People in the culture, women have a right, granted. But personally, as myself, I'm not for it. I voice what I can, you know, when I go and vote, and that's how I do. And the next thing is, it was me when I started looking at, hey, these people want to start changing the color of the flag, you know, the United States flag for this, you know, make it colorful, make it more inclusive. I'm not for that, you know. Now, you know, they're a godless department. I mean, godless party. They don't believe in God, even though you have Joe Biden that says he's Catholic. They don't believe in it, because if they do, murder is wrong, right? having having all these genders, 150 genders being taught to kids. Come on. So I started reading. I started looking into this, and I just said that I don't align with that. And when then I started really opening up, when I started opening my eyes, when these policies started hurting me, when I started seeing these policies implemented in my school board and in my school, my children's school, I actually had to remove my child from school because I just said, I can't handle that. I can't allow them to continue to teach them about, showing Kamala Harris in the library, when the school is supposed to be, it has to be a nonpartisan location where nobody should be teaching politics. It's just focus on academics. Right. And I think that's when I drew the line. I said, this is too much, And so, and that's one of the things that people need. I feel that the Latino community, I think once we start drilling on these things, they'll start looking and hearing these podcasts and say, hey, I align with Julian, I align with Sam, I align with what they're saying here. Even Alfred, what he's saying is true. Another question I got for you guys, man. I know we've been hitting hard, the Latino community, some of us that are Latino, when it comes down to immigration, it just hits home for some people, right? They look at us and they say, you say like, hey, I'm for legal immigration. They don't understand, the concept of legal immigration. They feel that anybody should be entitled to come in for a better life. And granted, some of the people that are coming are unfortunately coming from a worse location. Some of them are getting paid $50 a week. Think about it. In Mexico, you make $50 a week, right? To work. They pay you about 700 pesos a week. Right, and now with the inflection of the dollar, now you're probably getting about 1,000 pesos, right, to work 1 week in Mexico. So you come here and you can make that in a day or two, right? If you work hard, right, you can make less than that. So when people come here and we're saying, hey, we're for legal immigration, what have you guys encountered in your workplaces or in areas? Or even when you're having discussions with other people that have families or even that have friends that have migrated, when you tell them something like that, do you guys get, a little pushback and say, hey, you're also an immigrant. You were also an immigrant. You also had issues. You also crossed illegally. Have you guys encountered that?
Well, I think, although it's true, but yes, I have encountered some of those comments, questions. Of course, it's something that's just embedded into the Hispanic community or part of the Hispanic community here in the United States. And I think one of the craziest things that have shown up recently was it's those illegal immigrants that have been here for 30 plus years, 20 plus years, all of a sudden are trying to adjust to this new massive wave of illegal immigrants coming in because there's people that are willing to do the same job that they're doing at half the price because they've never had a job here. They urgently need a job to kind of get their feet on the ground. And so I think it's hurting everybody. It is going to drive wages down, in my opinion. And we, I think it's so funny because, it's like, it has those unintended consequences that people don't generally think about. But I will share that in my immediate circles, there are people. So we already discussed inflation and how much that's hurting the worker, the economy, and how everybody's struggling here in California because of the cost of living, etc. And wages are not going up. And then you have now this, like I mentioned, this new wave of illegal immigration that are willing to do the exact same jobs at half the price, if not less, because many of them are single. Many of the illegal immigrants that are currently coming in are single young men. So as long as they have a couch that they can pay rent for, that they can eat, they're good. But that illegal immigrant that's maybe been here 30 plus years, that already has an apartment to rent, a family to keep up, paying for their kids' education or whatever that may be, all of a sudden is being challenged with much lower wage employees that are willing to take wages much lower than theirs.
Oh, goodness. Julian, what you're trying to tell me is that there's corporation greed coming up, moving around here.
Well, yeah, I think yes, and we're enabling it. You know, we absolutely are participating in that greed. It's like lower wage labor. Absolutely, yeah. Because remember, I think I think people forget is illegal immigrants, when they show up to the United States, they're not comparing their standard of living to other states or your neighbors. They're comparing their living standards to where they're coming from. So if in their home country, I think so, you were mentioning, you know, if somebody winning 700 pesos a week or whatever that may be, all of a sudden is coming here for $15 an hour, which is California minimum wage, cash, no taxes. You keep 100% of that $15 wage for, well, let's just say they're scamming him. $10 an hour. They're going to think they're living in heaven compared to what they were winning over there. So just that's something to bear in mind.
Definitely, but they don't take into account, you know, the high cost of living. You know, think about it. They got to pay rent now. That for an apartment is $1,800. You know, for the food. You know, think about it. So they're it's like Sammy said. He hit it right in the nail. He says, "How humane can that be, right? When we're allowing a lot of people to come into this country, right, and living under a bridge, right? And how humane can we be? And now we're jumping into the corporate greed, you know, and." I mean, some's got to give. I mean, I get it. I understand it. And I just think that I don't know if there's a fixture, man, over the next, you know, 3 to 4 years. I mean, it's just, I'm just hopeful that, you know, things pick up here in the next couple of years here or in the next 4 years. But if you know, if the one that with 81 million wins again, brother, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just... Sammy, you want to add something about this, brother?
Well, I was just thinking about, you know, when he was saying like the immigration drive the wages down.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why Cesar Chavez was so against illegal immigration.
Yes.
And there's stories of him that he would just knock people out at the border. You know, like, you know, everybody, you know, thinks he's like this like liberal hero, and they don't understand that he probably stands against a lot of the things that liberals are for right now. He was pro-union, right? Because in the sense that he wanted the workers to have power and to keep the wages strong for the farm workers. And what a lot of people don't understand is that a lot of these, you know, immigrants that would come would drive the wages down because they would come into it cheaper. I forgot who was talking about this. Like everyone like likes to talk bad about janitors, right? Like that's such a bad job, but people don't understand that used to be like a high paying job.
Yeah, true.
And then somebody came in and said, hey, I'll do it for less. And then somebody else came in and said, I'll do it for even less than that. And that's where you get like this, you know, the idea that like this, you know, it's the lowest form of like work or whatever. I don't think it's the lowest form of work. I think, you know, especially if you work in LA and, you know, you get a pension and all that, whatever, it's probably a good gig. But you know, culturally speaking, you know, janitor work is like bad work, right? But a lot of it has to do with you know, like how the markets respond to, you know, all these people being added to the system. You know, there's a fixed amount of jobs out there, and when you've got this population competing for those jobs, and then you add people to that system, again, you stress out the system and it's gonna break. California has been trying to combat that by, you know, adding, you know, these crazy minimum wage hikes, and then what they don't understand is that they're destabilizing the system with that. I really don't know what the long-term feasibility would be if we continue to just stress the system like that and try to correct the system by legislating higher wages. I don't think it's going to be something good. You know, I think the California economy is due for a crash.
Well, bro, I mean, I was just looking over at the just not too long ago. The governor just came out and say we're in a deficit. I mean, come on,
Yeah.
this is the five. You know, this is one of the. You know, we were, if I remember these words, man, from Eric Mayer, Eric, what is his name? Mayor from New York,
Eric Adams.
Eric Adams says we have a brand. You know what I mean? California's brand was actually the economy. You know, they were they're number 5 in the whole world.
We're the Golden State.
We were the Golden State.
Yeah.
And think about it. All of a sudden, man, we're in deficits over the last 2 years. What's going on here, everyone? I mean, think about it. This governor, I mean, he was in control of San Francisco and run it through the ground. And now he's done the same thing with California.
Well, bro, they lost 24 billion and they don't know what happened to it.
Can you imagine?
They're like, this is his response was like, and it's like, yo, and you know what's worse is that because we're such a blue state, nobody's gonna call it out. Nobody has the balls to be like, hey, this is not good. This is not right.
You know what, bro? I can't wait into time. I mean, there's got to be a breaking point, and I just pray that you know, that the breaking point doesn't cause, you know, more than the situation. But I think overall, I think a lot of people are tired, getting sick and tired. I know some of you already said that you're sick and tired of being sick and tired. But listen, things are about to happen. Things change. Things are happening. You know what? I was looking over Citizens Free Press. It says here the U.S. national debt is exploding. No duh, right? Like, I mean, we're sending billions out to we're sending billions out to Ukraine, right? Out to Israel, out to Taiwan, right? I granted, I think Israel, you know, they're right now. And think about it, bro. President Biden just you know, just hold. He just said he's holding on the ammunitions. Isn't that something that Trump, you know, was originally being impeached for?
Yeah.
Initially?
Yes.
So what's going on?
Withholding aid. He's withholding
Quid
aid.
pro quo. What's
Right?
the charge
Right?
for that?
I mean, so now here we are again. We're having this discussion. This guy, you know.
And again, the Democrats do not have the balls to say that's not right.
Correct. If their team does it, it's okay. Us do it.
They're happy to call out Trump and whatever.
Right.
But when their team does it, dude, every single thing that Trump is alleged, Biden has done.
Correct.
You know, the whole deportation,
Yup.
the kids in cages, the mishandling of documents, which, by the way, did you hear that they Jack Smith admitted in court that they tampered with evidence and they basically planted the evidence to make Trump look guilty. But Biden himself mishandled documents. It was what, like over 1,800 documents they found in
his garage.
In his garage, the University of Pennsylvania, in his in 6 different places. 3 of them were in his home or something like that, and nobody on the Democratic side had the balls to say, hey, you know what? That's actually wrong too, man. If Trump did it, it was wrong. Biden's doing it, that's also wrong.
That's facts, bro. That's facts. And see, that's one of the things that we're starting to see, the quid pro quo, the you know, the double standard here. But what really scares me, bro, is some of the stuff that I've been seeing with the FBI press release. You know, now they're, you know, it's kind of like, hey, listen, there's going to be something, and they tell you exactly where it's going to happen, right? For example, the FBI just did a public service announcement, right? They said that there's a threat, right? And they're putting it out to the LGBTQ community, right? All these festivals, right? It's kind of like, you know, you want to be able to, if anywhere, you don't want to tell the terrorist where to attack, right? But here you are, you have a department of, you know, the Federal Bureau of Investigation is launching a full, you know, giving a full-on public service announcements to be careful to all these prides and parades and all this stuff. So where do you think terrorists are going to look for to do things in?
Yeah, well, it's funny because like a lot of these communities, like the LGBTQ community, they support, you know, like the Palestinians and the Houthis and the
right. Oh yeah.
And they don't understand that they hate us. They hate America, and they especially hate the LGBT community. Like, you know, I don't have anything against them. You know, I've got a lot of friends in that community. Grew up with a lot of these people. Party with them. You know, I got a lot of love for, you know, some of these people. I'm cool with them, whatever. But they go and they support Houthis, Palestinians, you know, like these Muslim countries that are like, they hate that community. And I'm like, yo, that blows my mind. They're so willing to just blindly go and just support that. Who was it? Tim Pool wanted to start a GoFundMe to like start a gay pride in Gaza, like
And
a
he
gay
would-
pride
bro,
parade. He would have a parade in Gaza.
That's a good
Bro,
idea.
he would literally, he would literally. I don't think he'll pick up the money, but I don't think he literally people will sign up for that.
No,
bro.
nobody
I'm
has the
telling
balls
you,
to do that.
nobody
They don't
will
have
do
the
that.
balls to go and have a pride parade in Gaza. Like,
If they literally know that, hey, this is what happens if if you're part of the community, right? This is what they do, bro. They throw you off the roof, hoping that you do land on your legs. Meaning like they're throwing you head down, bro. They're hoping that you catch a swift or the air so you can land on your legs, because most likely they send you head down, bro.
Daniel Tosh had a joke on his show. He was like, "There's cat, and then there's women's rights. Like it's cat rights and then women's rights, or something like that." It was pretty funny, and people don't understand is like these countries don't. They're very repressive. They're very archaic in their thinking.
Yeah.
They're religious zealots. If they hate Christians here, stateside that are like pretty chill, they're really gonna hate like the dogmatic, militant version of the Islam that is being practiced over there. So I really there's a huge disconnect between these people and like reality. But yeah, man, it's a trip.
Completely trip. And listen, on another policies, man, talking about policies, San Francisco spends $2 million to free alcohol to the homeless. So think about this. You got San Francisco, opening up a program where they're going to be providing free beer, to the homeless. Like they're not getting a lot of money, not a lot of, they're not getting a lot of taxpayer money, bro. But now they're going to invest $2 million on free booze.
Hey, sorry we can't get you a house, but here's some brew.
Exactly.
Here's a brew. Here's a
I mean, we've already given you
sorry
guys.
we can't give you healthcare. Here's some beer.
Right. It's kind of like this. Hey, sorry, we've already spent $38 billion. Like literally, if we have 160,000 homeless, we could have purchased with that money each one a home. Well, we weren't able to do that, but here's some free booze.
Do you know how much they spend in cleaning up poop in San Francisco?
That's I don't know, but the fact that they spend a single dollar,
it's bananas, bro. It's like I think one year there was like 14 million just cleaning up poop, just
oh my goodness,
cleaning up. Like somebody's out there banking, just getting city contracts, cleaning up doo doo.
Yes,
like
well, that's what that essentially would summarize the whole homeless crisis. Is just a big money pit, if you will. All these nonprofits that have been created to address the homeless issue
Facts.
have done everything except that. Because okay, you get a little nonprofit started. Oh well, we're gonna buy land. So one, they're taking away from other people that want to buy houses and land, because you have this nonprofit that's gonna get priority. Boom, they get it. Fantastic. Okay, now we have to pay an engineer. Now we have to pay architect. Now to switch this house into a homeless shelter, and you get all these people that get all kinds of payments through their salary and wages, which we have no control over, and we don't audit. We don't have the numbers of how much. Like you could pay somebody $100 just to submit an application. I was like, oh, hard work. Anyways, and then you go from there, and then you charge absurd amount of rent from the state or whatever to be able to house homeless. I mean, I think earlier today I was looking at there was an outrageous number of like $1 million per unit in Los Angeles.
oh yeah,
It's like it's something. So we've spent billions upon billions of dollars on homelessness, but they've all that money has been leaked on these nonprofits. Not good at all.
Did you see that story about the NGOs making billions of dollars?
Yeah. I saw that.
Yeah.
Like for like I think it's for homelessness.
It is for the homeless.
For the people that are housing migrants.
Yeah.
Basically, I think one of the companies was like 3 years ago. It was like something like 400 million that they like got from the government contracts, and then like last year was like 2 billion.
Yeah. So, and then again, all that kind of stuff, I guess, falls back to that boring and taxing task of the citizen to supervise its government. And you have to be a voice for it too, for your community. Because like that news article that you had pulled up earlier about San Francisco,
Yeah.
you know, you would only hope that people would take it to their neighbors and that the neighbors would have the outrage of that. That shouldn't be acceptable. It's like, goodness, this is your money, you know, and they're spending it on this
On booze.
out of control thing. Yeah, that's not solving an issue. That's not improving quality of life.
I mean,
It's
At least tell them,
destroying-
hey, you know, you had to pay for beer at your quinceañera, but they're giving you away for free.
Exactly,
Oh my
bro.
goodness.
Hey, well, might as well just get. Hey, might as well just get. You know, invite 15 of them and bring the booze.
Yeah, invite the homeless to your party.
Yep.
BYOB.
Yep. Hey, on another note, man, one of the things is, so we were looking over at some of the recent polls, man, on CNN, bro. We just got a recent poll. There's horrible polls. It shows, golly, it says in Nevada, the Sun Belt state. Look at this.
Donald Trump, he's up 6. Look at this, 9 in Georgia, 13 in Nevada. My goodness gracious, my God. That is a huge lead. No Democrat has lost that state since John Kerry lost it back in 2004. How about these Great Lake battleground states? This is something that the Joe Biden campaign can work with. Look, Pennsylvania, Donald Trump up 3, but that's well within the margin of error. Wisconsin, Donald Trump up 1, well within the margin of error. And actually, a Joe Biden lead, well within the margin of error, up a point here. This they can work with the Joe Biden campaign. This, the Donald Trump campaign, absolutely loves, and it looks like a lot of the other polling on the Sun Belt battlegrounds.
When you're looking.
Now, let me tell you guys this about polling, man. The polling can be tricky. I always just look at this. I look at this and I always just say, be careful with the propaganda, okay? Because guess what? This is what they tell you that is happening. In a sense, it kind of tells you to ease off a little bit, like calm down, like, you know, like, hey, we got this, right? But I think we need to be smarter. And just look at, if you're out there and you're working, you're, you know, hustling. Like I know Julian is out there. I know he's tired. Hey, I know Julian, you're working out there. You're going, you know, you're going to door, knocking. You know, if you see numbers like this, you say, I don't need to go out there anymore. You know what I mean? And I think this is the troubling thing when you have propaganda like this, and they're saying you're up so much, don't worry about it, and they're experts at that. What do you guys think?
Yeah, well, essentially that's the thing about polls and statistics. With enough magic, you can make them say whatever you want them to say, to be frank. At least me in politics, I personally try never to pay attention to the poll numbers and always just work. I just close my eye. Well, not close my eyes, but just shut off all the
Nuance, noise.
Yeah, the polls and the experts believe, and we think this is going this way, and I just close all that off and I just go to work. That's how I maneuver that. But yeah,
That's awesome. What about you, Sammy?
Oh, I always, I'm very entertained by the polls, you know, because they kind of tell you like what people are like kind of paying attention to. But again, I never really pay attention to polls because they, you know, like you looked at polls in 2015, they
2016,
were
right?
completely different.
Surprise.
That's
And
surprise.
you know, and coming into the last election with, you know, Trump, a lot of the polls said he was going to win. Like if you look at all the bellwether counties, he was winning
That's true.
all of them. And magically somehow, you know, he didn't win. And then Arizona, you know, like went for Biden, which is kind of weird, you know. I don't know. I just, you know, when it comes to like polls, again, I don't really pay attention. But if, you know, those are all the, like, I think those are all the ones that he had the +6, +5.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that he lost in the last election cycle.
Right.
And if he wins those, he'll pretty much win the presidency.
Yeah, pretty much. It's a Sun Belt states, and I think those are the ones for grab. And I think that's, you know, Arizona, Georgia, I believe what is it? Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. So there's a huge, you know,
Yeah,
these
he lost those by very low margins. So
Low
it
margins.
could go in, you know.
Yep, and that's what Julian mentioned. It says, hey, at the end of the day, man, go out there and vote and bring like 10 people with you. Just pack up that wagon like we do, you know, Latinos people. Let's get like 10 of us and let's just go out and vote and make it a good outreach effort. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll just share with you guys. I mean, I'm not expecting everybody to do this, but all election day and the day before, all it is for me is texting, calling people, Did you vote? Are you going to go vote? Do you need somebody to pick up your ballot? Da 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 da. Whatever it is, and just hey Julian, who should I vote for? Where do you live? Send me your address. I'll get you in contact with somebody. Blah blah blah. Hey da da da. That's all it is. And so always just hype up. If you don't see people getting hyped up about voting on an election day, you have your phone, get it out, start texting people, family members. Did you vote? Go to the poll. Do you need help? Blah 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 blah, and just be that helping hand.
That's awesome, man. Hey, so that's what we got to do, fellas, man. I know we went, how many, we talked right here for an hour and 30 minutes, man. You guys been rolling on a roll. Hey, I want to ask.
Go for another hour and a half.
Yeah, man, an hour and 30 minutes. You guys are pros, man. Hey, first of all, man, I want to thank you guys for just coming by and really just sitting here in the Unrestrained podcast. Listen, before we go, man, I want to give final shout outs. I know there's just a lot of things going on out there, man, but hey, just think positive. Just always continue to do your part, right? Sammy, thank you so much, man. That testimony about your business, bro. Again, thank you for sharing that, because a lot of people need to hear that. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are business owners that are like you, and they're struggling, and they just needed to hear somebody say it, man. It's kind of like those that are in the shadows, right? It's like, man, I wonder if people are struggling like I am, right? So here you are, man. Thank you for sharing that. And then Julian, man, thank you for coming by, bro, and sharing some of this good information with us. Now, he's going to be with us here periodically, and I'm so excited because I know that, we need to be able to ramp up our efforts as well, because there's just a lot of things that are happening in our communities, and we just need to be able to start educating some of those people that are freshly coming into this movement. And when I mean movement, hey, listen, just vote your values, right? I always say this, some people aren't Republican, some people are libertarian, some people, whatever you are, remember, just go out there and vote. But if you're looking to vote for the Democrats, don't vote for the Democrats, bro. You know what I mean? Like, don't,
except, right?
Just don't vote for them. Anybody else, but don't vote for them. RFK, don't, off the chart. You know what I mean? Some people say, what about RFK? Don't do it. You know what I mean? It's kind of, this is the game plan that they have, right? RFK is known to be liberal think about it, for the last 40 years. And all of a sudden, he's no longer, part of the Democrat Party, right? Anyhow. So, any last goodbyes before we chug out? Sammy?
No, man. Thanks for having me here. I really can't stress that, people, you should seek the truth. That's
100%.
That's right.
That's the one thing that will liberate you, is
the truth.
Seeking the truth.
That's awesome, man. And where can you find the truth? That's where you do
not
your
on
research.
TV,
Not on Telemundo or Univision, man. I'm telling you that for a fact. Go out there and search. And how about you, Julian?
Well, again, thank you very much for having me here another day,
brother.
We'll continue doing battle as we
sir.
are always, and because at the end of the day, we're doing it for our country. This podcast that we're doing it out of love for our country, and we just want the very best for it, and for the people that is in it. There's no other mission or agenda here. It really is, we're just looking for the truth. We're looking for liberty, for justice, and just ensuring that people live good quality lives here in the United States, and preserving the American dream. So again, thank you, and thank you for your team and all the work that you guys are doing. Definitely. On behalf of the country.
Awesome, bro. Hey, well, thank you both, man. And we will see each other here next week. I know we're gonna have another team out here, man. Hopefully we can have you guys back here soon. So we're hoping to have you guys soon, and we're gonna have a lot more details, more information. And so stay tuned here on the next Unrestrained podcast. God bless. Take care.